eviction moratorium extension. So just to kind of catch everybody up, at the end of June, they decided to extend the eviction moratorium using a bill known as AB 832, and it went into effect immediately. And there was a lot of questions about, well, what does that mean exactly for all of us? And so I'm going to go ahead and get into that. So AB 832 is an extension of the COVID-19 Tenant Relief Act, or CITRA. And just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, CITRA provided protections from eviction for residents for non-payment of rent. And rent can be anything from late fees, pet rent, you name it, utilities, that all falls under that category of rent. And it's specific for COVID-19 affected renters. It also expanded the just cause evictions. So why can you evict? How can you evict? Those kinds of things. It also expanded the small claims for COVID. So pre-COVID, there were dollar limits that you could take to small claims. If it exceeded that amount of money, you had to go up to the higher courts. But it's very expensive to do that. So by expanding the small claims, you don't have to have a lawyer, those kinds of things, and you can sue for all of the rent. There are exceptions. We'll get into that as we move on. And then there's limited guidelines for the local jurisdictions. So essentially, cities such as Riverside have stricter eviction moratorium guidelines than what the state of California is proposing. But what this is saying is they can't have anything less than what the state is proposing. And then they increase the penalties for illegal eviction. So if we're filing evictions and we shouldn't be, there's hefty fines to be paid. Currently, this extension is through September 30th. They say this is the last one. We'll see what happens on September 28th when they may or may not extend it. So with all of the extensions and the initial moratorium, as management companies and landlords, we're required to issue a notice. We're required to inform our residents of what the law says. And so this month we did, and hopefully most landlords that are self-managing did this. We have until the 31st of July to issue this notice. There is a catch. If you don't issue this notice, then you can't serve 15-day notices. And so thankfully you can do it by mail, and we just put them in the mail. You don't have to personally serve them or stick them, hand deliver them like you do your 15-day notices. So the protections that CITRA offers only apply to certain date ranges. And it does, the reason this is in red is it was expiring June 30th. It's now September 30th. So this is rent that was due from last March 2020 now through September 30th, 2021. Right now, as it stands, starting October 1st, rent is due in full by the 1st, and we can revert back to regular standard 3-day notices, and we do not have to do 15-day notices. Again, that's as of now. We'll see what happens when that time comes. So it's important to understand what we can and cannot issue evictions for. What can we collect rent for? And in small claims. So rents that are due March 2020 through August 2020, if the resident returned a declaration and proved, if they're required to, that they're a high income earner, we can never file eviction on them for non-payment. Everything that they owe, we have to seek as a consumer debt in court. So you won't be able to go back on those ones. September 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021, every single month, the resident must return a declaration and documentation if they fall into a high income resident. And there are specific guidelines for that. And we can get into that at a different time. Then at minimum, currently, we cannot file eviction until October 1st. If they turn in those declarations, then we can never evict for unpaid amounts. They also have to remit 25%. The catch is that 75% of unpaid debt becomes consumer debt. You can't collect through an eviction on that 75%. They don't have to pay the 25% right now. They have until September 30th to pay that money. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens come September 30th for people that have not paid that 25% all along, because it does come due in a lump sum. As I mentioned before, small claims was expanded. So right now, any COVID-19 rental debt can be brought to small claims. And the limits were extended until 2025. So that's going to give landlords time to see about rental assistance, allow renters to hopefully make good on payment plans, right? That's what we would hope versus having to go to court. So it does give us 4 years to go through that process. Currently, no cases, no small claims can be brought before November 1st. Previously, this is great benefit for everybody. Previously, 80% was going to be paid out on rental assistance programs. Now it's 100%. And that's good, because before, landlords were going to have to forgive that extra 20 and take a loss. Also new this time around is perspective. So future rents are included. It used to be back rent only. So now I believe they're paying up to 3 months. That's what we've experienced within Management 1 recently, is up to 3 months of future rents. And this is another huge one. Before this extension, if a renter moved out, landlords were out of luck if they owed rent and moved out. Now, under this new rental assistance extension, previously, if you vacated, you can apply and pay that landlord back. So previous renters can also apply and hopefully get assistance in paying what's owed backwards. There's always a catch. So there's a new eviction process for evictions that are going to start in October, and it'll run through March of 31st of next year. So starting October 1st, residents have to pay 100% of the rent. And also landlord companies are required to provide a 3-day notice and include rental assistance information, because the landlord statement, oops, sorry, I got distracted by a chat that came through. It seems like some people might be experiencing some technical difficulties. Are you guys able to hear everything okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We are, yeah.
Okay. So when a landlord is filing evictions, a landlord must meet one or the other of below. So you have to prove that you provided a rental assistance application and it was denied, and a copy of that decision, or prove the next 4 facts. So it's not like pre-COVID where we would say, okay, the resident didn't pay rent, here you go. That we can't do that anymore. There are some hoops that we have to jump through. So the 4 facts that we must prove is that we, as landlords or property management companies, submitted a completed application for rental assistance. So number 1, you provided them the links to apply. Number 2, the landlord has to apply on behalf of the landlord and the resident. We have to allow 20 days to pass since the landlord submitted the application, or property management company, and the date that the 3-day notice was served. Also, the landlord has not received or obtained verification from the resident that they participated. So the landlord applies, the resident doesn't participate, we can move forward. We have to prove that they are not moving forward on their part. And lastly, the landlord has received no communication that the resident is choosing to participate. So we don't get confirmation that they participated, and the resident doesn't communicate with us. then we can move forward. If we don't do those steps, we cannot. And there's always another catch. So we move forward with the eviction. We go to court. We get a lockout date. Now the resident has the opportunity to say, stop. I have proof. I got rental assistance. We postpone lockout for 5 to 10 business days, give the courts an opportunity to review the proof that the resident has submitted before we can either proceed with the lockout or wait for rental assistance to fund. So at the end of the day, everybody, if you have residents that owe money, apply, and document everything. Otherwise, we're still going to be stonewalled come October 1st of being able to file evictions. So that's the end of mine. Any questions? Okay, doesn't look like it.
Okay, I just want to add to that the fact that rental assistance as far as for landlords, okay? Those of you that are listening this evening, if you are a landlord, I would recommend you continue to stay in touch with your mortgage company for forbearance. It may not be what you want to do, but it's a way to go ahead and extend that payment. Plus, you're going to pay those dollars off with cheaper dollars down the road, okay? And when you get that money, eventually, and we have gotten 2 already, totaling $14,000-$15,000 to where the owners got all that rent, including through October 30th of this year. Okay. But now you don't have to pay that mortgage. It's on the tail end. So you're paying it off with a lot cheaper dollars. So the big thing of it is stay in touch with your mortgage lender. And then, we can work on, if you're a client of Management One, getting the money as far as through the assistance program. So there's plenty of money there. It's just a matter of getting it distributed. Okay. So it's a lot better than it looked at 2 months ago. A lot better.
Yeah. Because additional funds were released as well. And then the new fiscal year started for most of the local jurisdictions. And so maybe some people that are experiencing non-payment so far, we should hopefully start seeing those come out.
Yeah, let me add to that 96% of our residents are paying. So this is only like 4% of our inventory that's not paying. So it's not rampant. So you shouldn't be fearful as far as in terms of keeping your rental property or even buying other rental property, okay? Because you only, if 4% is nothing. Plus, you can see all the work we've done for our owners and our clients to make sure we're going to eventually collect on these. And so if your property's with Management One, you're definitely in good hands. And but if not, there's other professionals out there can help you as well. So, okay, next.
Chris.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. So now am I to understand the same rules as previously apply, where the resident has to collaborate with the owner in order for this funding to qualify for the funding?
Yeah, that's what it appears right now. There was no updates in terms of in regards to that on the rental assistance websites. So that is how it stands right now. However, by choosing not to participate, they are no longer going to fall under that eviction protection umbrella. Whereas right now they do, right? They could choose not to participate in the rental assistance and our hands are tied. We can't file eviction for them to move out. But come October 1st, if they still fail to participate, now we have an avenue to go down.
Got it.
Okay, super.
Okay, Ron, I think